Are you considering switching to a low-carbon heating solution but wondering if the investment is worth the cost? I'm Sue Angel from GreenMatch, and in this video, we'll break down the Renewable Heat Incentive, the most popular UK governmental scheme designed to incentivize households for installing renewable heating technologies. So, if you want to know exactly what you can get out of this incentive, keep watching. What is the Renewable Heat Incentive? The RHI is a government-led initiative geared towards reducing the use of fossil fuels in the UK by financially rewarding those who make the switch to green heating technologies. At the onset, the scheme was divided into domestic and non-domestic RHI, where the non-domestic version of the scheme incentivized businesses, the public sector, and non-profit organizations. However, since the non-domestic RHI closed to new applicants on the 31st of March 2021, this video will only focus on the domestic RHI, which is currently extended to the 31st of March 2022. The date and terms of grants are subject to changes, so we recommend that you read our articles on greenmatch.co.uk and to subscribe to our newsletter to get the latest updates. Now, with the domestic RHI, you are able to receive quarterly cash paybacks for generating renewable energy using one of the eligible technologies over a 7-year period. At the end of this period, also taking into consideration the savings on your heating bills, you'll more or less have earned back the money you spent to install the technology. Exactly how much you'll earn is dependent on your household energy habits and the technology installed. We'll get to that later on with some specific examples that may apply to your household. For now, let's look into the eligibility factor. Who is eligible for the domestic RHI? The domestic RHI is directed to homeowners including self-builders, private and registered social landlords living in England, Scotland and Wales. You qualify when you install one of the following technologies: air source heat pumps, wherein only air to water is included and not air to air. Ground source heat pumps. Here, water source heat pumps are included in this definition. Solar thermal panels and biomass boilers, including wood pellets, wood chips and lugs. Once you've decided on the technology, there is some prep work involved. Ofgem is the government's independent regulator for gas and electricity markets in Great Britain and is the official watchdog for the RHI, including the application process. Their role is to protect consumers and promote fair competition in the delivery of a greener and secure energy system. So we definitely recommend that you read all their requirements carefully before joining the scheme. However, there are two vital prerequisites that will be necessary for us to cover in this video, and that is the Energy Performance Certificate and the Microgeneration Certification Scheme. What is the Energy Performance Certificate? An EPC is an assessment of your home's energy use and efficiency, giving your property a rating from A, being very efficient, to G, being very inefficient. Before the installation, your EPC will also give you an indication of how much your energy levels can increase after the new installation has been completed. In some cases, depending on the age and condition of your home, you may be required to carry out multiple improvements prior to fitting the eligible technology, for example, additional insulation work. In such a case, it would be a good idea to have a new EPC done after all the works have been completed. The figures on the EPC post-installation would be the most advantageous to calculate your RHI payments. What is the Microgeneration Certification Scheme? An important RHI requirement is that your installation is MCS certified. Essentially, MCS serves as a mark of quality and that due processes were followed adequately on the technology fitted. So after the work has been completed, your installer will commission the installation and give you an MCS certificate, which you'll need to submit as part of your RHI application. Now, let's look at how much you can earn with the RHI. How are RHI payments calculated? The RHI payments are tax-free and, as mentioned earlier, paid out every 3 months for a total of 7 years. To estimate your paybacks, you need the following: your total heat demand over a year. This includes both space heating as well as hot water needs over a period of a year. You can extract this information using your EPC certificate. The efficiency of the system. For heat pumps, the seasonal coefficient of performance is used as a measurement for this. And lastly, the current RHI tariffs. To understand how this works, let's break this down using the heat pump example, wherein the current tariff is 10.92 pence for air source heat pumps and 21.29 pence for ground source heat pumps. It's important to note that the scheme has a cap on the total heat demand a household can use. Air source heat pumps are capped at 20,000 kilowatt hours per year, and ground source heat pumps are capped at 30,000 kilowatt hours per year. The average household that's fairly well insulated wouldn't exceed this threshold. The caps are put in place to control the RHI budget, as well as to encourage very poorly insulated households that would have extreme heat loss to improve insulation levels prior to installing the heat pump. Another consideration is that while heat pumps are a low-carbon heating solution, they do use electricity to run. So only the renewable portion of the heat generated will be incentivized. This is where the scope of a heat pump comes into the equation. Now let's look at some specific examples. How is the air source heat pump RHI calculated? While modern air source heat pumps have efficiency levels up to 4, the minimum efficiency requirement for the RHI is 2.5. Let's assume that you have a 2 to 3 bedroom detached house where the heat demand for your household is at the maximum cap of 20,000 kilowatt hours per year. At the same time, you have installed an air source heat pump that only has the minimum scope of 2.5. This effectively means that for every 1 kilowatt hour of electricity used, your heat pump delivers 2.5 kilowatt hours of heat energy over a year. The renewable heat generated by your system would therefore be 12,000 kilowatt hours per year. You would therefore be paid for 12,000 kilowatt hours multiplied by the current tariff of 10.92 pence, equaling approximately £1,310 per year or £9,173 over the 7-year period. How is the ground source heat pump RHI calculated? Taking a look at a ground source heat pump installation, let's assume you have a detached house that has 4+ bedrooms with a heat demand of 24,000 kilowatt hours. This time, let's imagine you have installed a heat pump that has a scope of 3.5. The renewable portion of your heat demand will be approximately 17,000 kilowatt hours. The RHI payment in this case would therefore be 17,000 kilowatt hours multiplied by 21.29 pence, equaling approximately £3,619 per year or £25,335 over the 7-year period. To get an even broader overview of how your RHI payments are calculated using different examples, check out our article on the link below. How do you use the online renewable heat incentive calculator? Thankfully, you don't have to do all these calculations on your own, as there is an official RHI calculator available online, which we've linked in the description below. With it, you can get a more detailed result as it relates to exact property specifications. It's quite straightforward with very easy steps to follow. In it, you fill in your actual heat demand specified on your EPC, the type of property you have, any home improvements you may have done, and your postcode, as the climate conditions in your geographical area will affect the efficiency of your heating system. All these elements are put together in order to give you a detailed report of your expected RHI payments. What is the assignment of rights? The most common criticism about the scheme is that even though the paybacks are fairly generous in the long run, the capital costs still require a large fraction of disposable income. For example, an air source heat pump costs between £8,000 to £18,000, and a ground source heat pump costs anything from £20,000 to £35,000, making the technology inaccessible for many households. In light of this, you may have heard about the assignment of rights, which was introduced by the government in part to help overcome this barrier and at the same time to prevent third-party financing models outside the scheme. With the ARR, a registered investor funds the installation of the technology and thereby also becomes the beneficiary of the RHI paybacks. While this could be something to consider, a lot of paperwork and legal obligations to the investor comes with this option, so you would definitely have to do your due diligence to assess whether this is beneficial for you. Will there be a replacement grant after the RHI? At this point, we've pretty much unpacked the RHI. The most urgent consideration is that the closing deadline is fast approaching. So what comes after the scheme? The government has already proposed a replacement grant, namely the Clean Heat Grant. This is intended to be an installation grant where homeowners can receive up to £4,000 in order to help fund the installation of various low-carbon heating solutions. The Clean Heat Grant is expected to run from April 2022 to March 2024 on a first-come, first-served basis. However, much of this is still at a proposal stage, and the government is expected to disclose more details in due course, so be sure to keep an eye on GreenMatch for the latest updates. And with that last bit of information, we're done. We hope that you found this video insightful and that you now have a better understanding of how you can benefit from the Renewable Heat Incentive. As always, don't be shy to give us a like and do subscribe to our channel, as we'll be releasing more green energy related content just like this. Yeah, all 9,000. I'll take that again. Numbers though. You will more or less have spent the money. Not spent it. I like how you just point at you with something. I stopped before you said because I saw your finger. Okay.